Hello, welcome to New Game Plus. I'm Tim, I'm joined by Kirsty. How are you?
I'm feeling quite sprightly compared to you, because
Yes.
as we film, we're right in the middle of your sleep schedule.
Yes, Dota has me on a very strict sleeping schedule at the moment, waking up at 1:30 to watch TI4, and
you're
then
mad.
after the full day's play, I go straight to work.
Oh my gosh, I genuinely don't know how you're doing it, but
Yeah.
at least now we're getting into the finals, so it's going to be
Yes.
getting pretty ending soon.
Yes, for those of you who don't like Dota, we'll stop talking about it soon, I promise. But for our Melbourne viewers, you can pretty much watch the grand final after us tonight. So
It works out
Tuesday-
really nicely, so you can chill out, watch
Yeah.
the New Game Plus, and go have a quick nap, and then you can watch the finals.
Tuesday 2 a.m. for those of you who want to watch. There's a newcomer stream as well if you
yes.
want to learn a bit about Dota or you're fairly new to it, but you do want to watch it. It's the biggest spectacle, biggest esports tournament in history. Something
Will
that
your
you can't
boys
miss.
be
Yeah.
in there?
Hopefully, we'll see.
We'll see what happens, but that'd be very exciting. But other than Dotas, we also have some great content coming up for you. We have more E3 coverage coming up for you because there was just so much cool stuff
Yes.
you got to experience. It can't be contained to one itty bitty
Yeah,
episode.
so definitely expect more of that over the
Yes.
many weeks to come. We've got Old Game Plus coming
We
back in this
do.
episode
We've
as
got
well.
a bit of a Transformers theme going on. You know, it's really topical. You know, the whole new Transformers
Yep.
film and all the new toys and the new shinies, etc., etc. Plus, something for you. We have hardware reviews.
Having a look at some a very high-end Gigabyte motherboard, so look forward to that.
Yes, we got that. Plus, of course, we also have our big review for this week, Valiant Hearts.
Yes, the game that melted hearts
Oh
at
my gosh.
the Ubisoft press conference.
I cried through the trailer, so I'm a little bit scared of all of the feels and
Yeah.
how they will ravage me when the review comes on. But anyway, let's go on to our first review.
So Jason, Child of Light isn't exactly something we'd expect from a big publisher like Ubisoft. It has all the trappings of a sort of much more smaller, quainter game, doesn't it?
So to me, it struck me as Square Enix by way of like France. I don't know, like it had all the trappings of. I don't even want, actually, Square Enix is a bad one. Of a smaller Japanese RPG, but made by a French development team, which in itself is a weird enough mixture.
It's interesting for sure. And Child of Light, it sort of meets some of this interesting potential as well. Just take a look at the setting, the story. Players Aurora, a little princess who starts the game by dying. She wakes up
This is
though.
always good fun.
Yeah, she wakes up though in a world where she has to try to rescue the stars and the sun and the moon from the Queen of Darkness. It has very much a
whimsy
fairy
and wonder, yeah.
whimsy, fairy tale kind of vibe, and the visuals certainly match this. The UbiArt engine, which was previously used in the Rayman games, shines again here. It looks pretty.
Yeah, I'm not sold 100% on all of the art design, but there's definitely a style, and they adhere to it, and it looks good in any meaningful sense. Like, as in, like, it's well illustrated. I just don't know if I like the style all that much. But yeah, I'll agree. It does look very pretty.
It looks very pretty, and then the writing starts
Yeah.
because all the dialogue in this game is delivered through rhyming verse, and some of the rhymes they use is really the worst. And it's that sort of junk rhyming that is
Oh my
just
God,
littered throughout the entire game.
There's one character who doesn't rhyme, and they kind of call attention to it. And you know, it's one of those things they had to have committed to it. I'm sure there was someone in product testing who said, you can't have a whole game where everyone rhymes, and they just said, "No, fuck it, we're going ahead with it. Like, we're doing it," because someone had to have been annoyed enough to pull them up on it at some point.
Yeah, but I'm the indie person here, and I still kind of find it cloying. But what about the combat though?
Well, look, the combat is South Park by way of Paper Mario. It's engaging. You can just slub your way through it and like smash, smash, smash. But using the little like light spark to slow people down and the way that the bar works as far as taking your turn and then waiting, I really like that. I think it's something better than just standing in a line and getting killed. But whether that's enough to drag you out is going to come back whether you like the style.
Now, I actually really like the combat. And there are plenty of good ideas and good concepts in Child of Light as well. And knowing Ubisoft, they will recycle these into a future game. I just hope that when they do, they get a better writer, or at least they send a bloody poet.
And they don't even know it.
Well, Child of Light is one of those games from a big dev that is trying to be like indie and stuff. But
It is.
I don't know. It looks interesting, and I don't know. Just the colours and the story tends to grabbed me. So,
Yeah, well, that's the first thing that really grabbed my attention with Child of Light was just how beautiful it really looked. And it's been something I said, and I've always really said, is that I really loved Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah.
Not only because it was like the perfect storyline for me, you know, it was all these subtext and it was all like so fantasy, but the game was actually so visually beautiful because of all those effects of like explosions and light.
Yeah.
And Child of Light has that. They've got all this incredible play of light effects and just such beautiful visuals that you can't help but be drawn in.
yeah.
And I really like that. And otherwise, it's an RPG.
Like the simple gameplay of it. It's like it's something that you can sit down and play for a few hours, enjoy the experience, and then move on. So I don't know. I think it'd probably be something that I'll get around to when I have some free time because it does look like.
But do you remember a game? Now this is going way back, where there was that dolphin swimming game back on the Wii originally, and the whole idea of this swimming game, I can't remember the name of the game, but the whole idea is you would go home and you'd play this swimming game, you just swim through the ocean, and it was a relaxing game. To me, I can see you using Child of Light in the same way. So it's a game that you come back, you just want to sit down and just be kind of immersed in something. And because Child of Light is such a beautiful game, you know, you could do that. And it's an RPG, so you can just very easily get into it. But it's not a game you're going to like, you know, hardcore for 2 days straight. This is a game like slow burner almost.
The only good dolphin game was that Flash game where you just do the jumps and you go up into space and do all the flips.
Yeah, and I never understood Echo the Dolphin. Did you ever understand Echo the Dolphin on Sega?
I've seen it on
really
SGDQ
weird.
runs and
Yeah,
AGDQ runs.
I don't get it. But let's stick with Child of Light.
I hate dance floors, but I like me a good dancing game. I've done the Butterfly on Didier. I've done the Soldier Boy for Dance Central. I've even done, well, whatever the hell this is. And now, on my iPhone with my partner, I'm doing Ballet thanks to Bounden with an E, developed by Dutch studio Game Oven, also with an E. You and a partner grip either ends of an iPhone and you're trying to move it so that a reticule on screen will go through a series of rings surrounding a sphere on screen. In the real world, all things going well, it'll look like the two of you are doing ballet. And this is a great idea for a game. I love it. And it's not a mere gimmick either. The game designers actually collaborated with the Dutch National Ballet to design the choreography, and it shows. When you're actually twirling and spinning to the classical music, it feels like you're doing ballet. It's a special kind of spontaneous glee. However, it is unfortunately a fleeting feeling because sure, there's choreography here, but all you see is a sphere and rings to go through. You don't know how to get through those rings. You don't know if you're supposed to twirl here or pirouette there. It turns this beautiful choreography into this stuttering mess. And sure, there are videos and step-by-step instructions on how to do many of the songs, but if you have to get through this level, then you just lose that special spark of just picking up a phone and dancing. Don't get me wrong, I still love the idea of this game, and it occasionally delivers on its whimsical promise, but it just gets buried under mechanical guesswork and just straight up work. The game just forgets for a second that dancing games are supposed to be, you know, fun.
Alright, today I get to check out some pretty cool high-end Gigabyte hardware, and I'm having a look at the Z97X Gaming G1 Wi-Fi BK Ultra Durable Black Edition. It is a mouthful, but it does have a lot of features to back it up. But first up, we'll go into what is inside the box. Starting off with the SLI bridges. The board supports 4-way SLI as well as Crossfire. So there's the bridges for 4-way, 3-way and 2-way SLI, but only 2-way Crossfire, which seems a bit odd. There's also 6 braided SATA cables, always nice to have the cables braided, and a little nifty front port for USB 3. If your case doesn't support it, you can mount this up and have USB 3 on the front of the case. The motherboard also supports Wi-Fi and Bluetooth 4.0 through a PCI card, which is included. But going on to the motherboard itself, it's red and black, so it's changed from what they they were green, and even before that they were blue. I prefer the old blue. Red and black seems to be the color for most motherboards these days, so it needs to differentiate itself a little bit. But going on to what the board actually supports, it's a Z79 chipset, so it supports Haswell, as well as the Haswell Refresh, Devil's Canyon, and the upcoming Broadwell chip from Intel as well. So it's a good option if you're looking to build a PC now and maybe upgrade later. The board also supports 10 SATA 3 ports, as well as the new SATA Express, which brings it up to 10 gigabits per second for the new standard solid-state drives that will be coming out later on. The board also has dual-channel memory, DDR3, all that good stuff, dual BIOS, and audio is something that Gigabyte really focus on these boards. Now, this has a gold-shielded Creative 4-core processor that, well, hopefully would reduce some of the noise. I'm not an audiophile myself, but it's nice to have these sort of things. And gold-plated 7.1 on the back, as well as optical audio, all the good stuff for audiophiles out there. Now, it also has 6 USB 3 ports, as well as DVI support, DisplayPort, and HDMI, which will support 4K for the integrated graphics as well, if your processor will be good enough to hold that. Obviously, this is a very high-end motherboard, costs quite a bit, so unless you're running like 4-way SLI and a lot of overclocking, and even features like having water cooling on the heatsink on the motherboard, you're paying for extra features that you might not use. If you are just a regular gamer, there's a few like easier selections here. You can go to the GT, which has a few reduced options, but still does SLI, still does all the important stuff, same chipset. So unless you're really going ham and building a 4K gaming PC with all these graphics cards, this is your option. Otherwise, the GT might be a better option.
So the Transformers movie and the Transformers game to go with it have both just come out.
Yeah, and yeah, they're not good. Anything Michael Bay touches turns to absolute trash. No, let's just get it away. I'm not even a big fan of Transformers, and I hate Bayformers.
Yeah.
Let's just get it out. I'm not a big fan.
I'm a big fan of Generation 1 and the things that spun off it, and I don't like Bayformers either.
So what we figured we'd do is we'd cover what you should be playing / watching instead of the new ones. Yeah. So basically, everyone knows Gen 1.
Yep.
You know, the show, the movie, you know, you got the touch. Yeah, there you go. But everyone knows those. It's stuck in the pop culture. And even if you watch them for the nostalgia factor and the super cheese factor, there's still something there for you to be
good voice acting in that movie.
There is. Then you had like Beast Wars and the kind of the Gen 2, the Armada and stuff. And that was still okay. It's a bit of an interesting twist on it. They were okay. The games at that time, though, they sucked.
Yes.
The Transformers games were horrible.
Beast Wars Fighter was terrible.
It was bad, yeah. So we're kind of in this drought of good Transformers content. Then along comes, out of nowhere, I think, the Transformers PS2 game.
And that was awesome.
Yes, it was. It was probably the most I've ever seen anyone ring out of the PS2 that wasn't like the last year of its existence. Because this came out like 3 or 4 years.
2004.
Yeah, so it still had a couple of years of life left in it before they like replaced it. And made in Australia, made in Melbourne.
Made in Melbourne, yeah.
Looks amazing, and like the draw distance alone.
The draw distance was awesome. The Transformers worked as you would expect. Like there was sections where you had to drive that you couldn't do as a walking Transformer, and there's sections where you couldn't drive. Like it was awesome. Yeah,
and probably the best Australian-made game in my opinion.
I'd put it right up there in the top 3.
Yeah. So that's worth it if you can find one.
If you can find it.
That's the very hard part.
And it was never released in Japan.
Which is weird because you think they don't like money apparently.
That up.
Yeah. So then we came to the next generation after that, and that brought along War for Cybertron and Fall of Cybertron. So I got that right. That's great. So they're the two there. By High Moon.
High Moon Studios, a division of Activision.
Yeah.
Yeah, great. In the Unreal Engine, worked for it, and
like literal Gears of War, basically.
And set on Cybertron, no Earth.
Yeah.
No Earth needed. So.
Yeah. So they're good. They're solid shooters. They're not going to blow your mind, I don't think.
No.
But
some of the boss battles were
pretty epic. Agreed. Then along comes the last piece of garbage. I'll pretty much just spoil it right there.
Yes.
Rise of the Dark Spark.
Rise of the Dark Spark. So it's set as a sequel to the movie.
Yes.
and a prequel to Fall of Cybertron.
Yes.
Which makes no sense.
And not to mention how much they retconned things to just make them not make sense. Like, why does
it's like two different universes is trying to...
Yeah. The gameplay feels horrible, the boss battles feel stilted, everything about it just feels wrong.
Size, like the Transformers changing the cars, the size of a military tank.
It's meant to be a Bugatti Veyron, but it's 3/4 the size of a military tank.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell? Anyway, moral of the story is, if you got a PS2 and you still play it, try and find a copy of Transformers on that. But if not, War or Fall
are great.
Still can't go wrong. So there's plenty of other good stuff. Just don't support Michael Bay anymore.
Bayformers, no.
Please.
No Bayformers.
Please.
Welcome to week 10 of our Roccat and Con Computers Australia competition. Timmy, what do we have this week?
This week we have the Carve 5.1 surround sound headset.
Very exciting. So tell me all about it, Tim.
Now, something that I like from this, because I have my 5.1 speakers set up as well as my headphones, so I can pop on my headphones when we're talking in Skype and not be the scumbag that has a microphone on while using speakers.
Yeah,
I'm not that guy,
annoying.
but I know people like that. Now, this comes with a desktop remote, so you can have like your volume and everything on top of your desktop. And you can swap out your headphones and your 5.1 speaker setup just really quickly, like all the plugs and stuff are on the back. So that all works out really well. You don't have to reach behind your PC, and you can not be that person
and not be that guy. Yeah. And I like how it is actually 5.1 as well. So apparently each cup has 3 speakers in it, and that helps to really... It just blows my mind to think that they can do that. Yeah. Like, I'm just so used to my like little rubbish headphones, and I'm just like, oh.
And it does work really well. Like when you're playing online, you can hear what direction they're from. If they are actually coming from behind you, you can hear that they're coming behind you. Cool. You don't expect that from just having 2 cups over your ears.
No more
gypsy
really
step.
Well. Yeah. So now to enter this competition, you have to answer, of course, 2 questions. Number 1, how many speakers are in each headphone cup?
Yeah.
And number 2, in the theme of voices hearing, if you're playing a game and your headset would change all of the voices in the game to the same voice, whose voice would it be and why? Now, not Nolan North, it doesn't count because that's every game anyway, but a celebrity voice dubbing an entire game for you. What voice would it be?
I would have Cave Johnson from Portal 2. Just in every game, it would be fantastic. Talking about lemons and, yes, speaking to Life's Manager.
Yeah, see, I'd probably have Pierce Brosnan just for the whole Simpsons and so sexy voice. Anyway, enter via the usual channels, contests at newgameplus.tv, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all of them. Get entering and win your 5.1 headset cover.
You have no chance, Thunder God.
Thunder blots out the sun.
Temporarily.
Round 1, fight. Finish him. Fatality. Raiden.
You know what? I was slightly disappointed when I saw this trailer because when it said Raiden, I was like, oh yeah, Metal Gear Raiden. Oh,
The wrong Raiden.
Wrong Raiden.
Nah, Raiden was my main in MK9, so I'm happy. I'm very happy. I played him and Scorpion, and the new Raiden looks cool. I mean, there's the lightning traps that got added, but all you want to do is just do the Superman. Yeah.
I do, but again, the other thing I laugh at is because I remember the movie. Do you remember the Mortal Kombat movie? And it was the Highlander who was riding, so it's like there can be only one. And it was just like, so I just watched this trailer, but it does look very exciting. I mean, even further still, just looking at the gameplay, it just looks so smooth. Like, animation style has stepped up yet again.
I still don't know how I feel about the injustice elements being added to it, the environmental, like, being able to interact with that. But it was shown at EVO just after the Injustice finals, and everyone was pretty hyped for it, and I'm pretty hyped for it.
Yeah, no, I think it's hard not to be excited. I mean, Mortal Kombat 9... I mean, even though it was banned in Australia, it was still such a hype game. Like, it wasn't, you know, people are, oh, you just got it because it was violence. Like, no, actually, Mortal Kombat 9 was actually a fantastic fighting game. So it'd be interesting to see, can Mortal Kombat 10 live up to that hype? Yeah. Or will these new Injustice elements and everything else, you know what I mean? But I'm excited.
War, Matthew. War never changes, or at least war games never seem to change, do they?
That's funny you say that, considering we're reviewing a game based on the World War that isn't a first-person shooter.
It is 2014, and we are reviewing Valiant Hearts, The Great War, a puzzle adventure game developed by Ubisoft Montpellier. And it very much tries to capture the nature of World War I, doesn't it? Just through these separate stories.
Yeah, through this perspective of 4 different soldiers from all walks of life, from Germany, from America, from France. You have Carl, Emile, Freddy, and Anna.
Yeah, their stories do go their separate ways. They occasionally intersect. They all present wide perspectives of life in the war, but you do get a constant through line with a dog, which sort of keeps you grounded in some way, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. He finds he intertwines the tales fairly well. He does. He provides a bit of humour to it all as well, and he's quite a useful companion.
Yeah, and indeed, the game does sort of have these lighthearted moments as well, as in just the caricatures and the art style, as well as just these other sequences. For instance, like, there is one time where you're driving down the street and you're being attacked by bombs and by planes to the tune of classical music, so it's a fairly lighthearted, giddy moment. Then you discover you're driving to a chlorine gas attack.
Yeah, I do find it, like you said before, disarmingly gorgeous. So,
yeah,
I mean,
the
the art style really reflects that. So you've got a bunch of, you do have drab colours every now and then, but the art style is very endearing, and then it kind of lets your guard down with a bit of slapstick humour and a bit of lighthearted fun, and then suddenly you run through a minefield and, you know, mortars are ripping off the legs of soldiers.
It just makes the realities of World War I, just makes the horrors of trench warfare just hit even harder, doesn't it?
It's pulled off incredibly well, but unfortunately, the gameplay doesn't match the...
It's kind of like,
exactly.
It almost gets in the way of the story, because it is a puzzle game, so it is sort of adventure gamey in terms of interacting with the environment, just following semi-circuitous logic to try to reach the solution to the puzzle. As in, by all means, the puzzles aren't bad, and there are occasions where the gameplay is actually fun, but at the same time though, the puzzles, there is some pacing issues with them, and ultimately, whenever I was going through a lot of them, I just wanted to get back to the heavy themes.
Yeah, it's... Let's just say, it's no Ace Attorney. I mean, it gets a bit arbitrary, but as far as it goes, it's a fairly story-heavy game, so you want to just jump straight into it.
And it's an educational game as well, because it represents a rather decent vertical slice of some of the big moments of World War I, like the Battle of Verdun or the Battle of Ypres. And you also have these collectibles that you find throughout the game as well that actually teach you a fair bit about World War I. Like, I did not know that soldiers used urine-soaked rags to try to avoid the pain of chlorine gas.
Well, that sounds like my regular Saturday nights. But anyway, let's just go to a conclusion. I mean, I absolutely loved it. The puzzles felt a bit flat in some respects. But I reckon the game, this story was enough for me to go to carry on.
Ultimately, any flaws in the gameplay are more than redeemed by the representation of World War I, just the themes that Valiant Hearts hits.
So war games are usually World War II, and World War I wasn't a very good shooting thing because you're just sitting in trenches. But this game, it goes from another angle. It's great.
I think that's really good. I mean, there's all these jokes about, you know, War Shooter 14 and stuff like that, where there's always these similar themes and similar things being explored. So to see them also take not only a different angle by choosing a different war, but then also by making it a puzzle game.
Yeah.
And, you know, in that specific art style, it's like, hey guys, like, here are all the conventions. Like, here's the tropes list of a war game. And I'm not going to take any of these. Like, I'm just going to completely go left of field. And I think that is to their benefit. It makes it a much more heart-rendering story, then how many like 420 no scope headshots can I get?
And also the contrast is probably something that Don was talking about, specifically having something so cheerful and then going to something so dark and just it really puts you off. And this is a game that I want to play as soon as like I have some time off WildStar. I'm gonna start playing this. Like,
once the Dota's over, then you can start playing real games again. Because no, I'm 100% with you, but I'm just so fearful of the feels. Like I am a bit of a crybaby in films and video games, so I'm very worried that this game already
just play the game with like a tissue box.
it was like, and don't wear any makeup. Anyway, let's move on to upcoming episodes. So of course we will have more E3 content as we said, but we've also have some just general American content from our American correspondent Liam. Hi Liam.
Yes.
And he's been traipsing around having a pretty darn good time.
Yeah,
like
all the
sod.
Heroes Cons and all that sort of stuff, the fun conventions over there.
New York Comic Con's coming up, hey, like that's coming up in the future at some point, and that's going to be pretty full on. Yeah, we don't have an understanding. Anyway, let's quickly wrap this up.
Yes, so visit our website, www.newgameplus.tv.
Like us on Facebook, facebook.com/NewGamePlusTV.
Follow Twitters and Instagrams at NewGamePlusTV.
And watch our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/NewGamePlusTV.
Thank you, Kirsty.
Thank you, Timmy, and we will see you guys next week.